Good girl. All right, well, here we are back again at Animal Training and Development Center. And today we have with us Shelby. Okay, I'll give you a break. Okay. Shelby is with us for a alpha program. So we are on our day 4 of 10 days of daycare training. So I haven't really worked individually with the owners yet, and they'll be getting this video to see kind of what we've been doing. But to let you guys know in general, we like to see a dog, 4, sometimes even 5 times before we start putting the leash in the owner's hands and start coaching them through the techniques that we're using, because those are developing as we get to know the dog better, and we're just trying to get a foundation laid before we start instructing the owners. So we're kind of at that point now. She's doing really very well. We don't know all there is to know about her past, but I know that she's a rescue and has come from an unknown past. She looks like she could have maybe been abused at one time. There's definitely what looks to me and some others. Can you turn this way? Atta girl. Here we go. Let's show them. Atta girl. Come here. There you go. There's like a burn mark that looks like could be a cigarette type of injury from the past. I don't know, but it sure looks like that to me, and that would be awful to think about, but could lead us to know a little bit about her past. The good news about dogs is always that they don't remember the past the way that we do, so they could be conditioned by their past, and if a guy with a hat was always abusing her, then maybe she doesn't like guys with hats in the future, but she can't really go back to that specific memory and say this is why she doesn't like a guy in a hat. So I think it's good news for us as trainers, because they don't get hung up on memories and don't need years of therapy typically to get past their past. We just have to figure out what's triggering those reactions. They're usually negative in some form, whether it's anxiety or whether it's aggression or whether it's just some sort of ADD type of what we call avoidance behaviors. What we're looking to do is help a dog bridge the past with the now future to them, meaning a home where they're loved and the people are good, and they're really just looking to give this dog the best life that they can. And now we start our training process. So for me as a trainer, I just start them off the same way we always do, and it's just a simple idea that once I've gain a little trust with you to where you let me touch you and put a leash on you, all I want to teach you next is this unspoken command that we call walk, if you want to call it anything at all. But the concept here is that the dog only has one thing to worry about, and that is not pulling on the leash. So I should be able to keep a very loose leash and kind of wander around and go where I want, and you can see that she's keeping a little bit of slack in that leash. And so the unspoken command is based on this. We want a dog to learn first and foremost to never get to the end of the leash at any time for any reason. So I try to think of why I might want my dog to pull me, and it gets down to some very extreme circumstances. Either A, I've fallen in the proverbial ditch that my mom kept warning me about, and whenever I was late from an outing and broke my curfew, she said, you could have been found dead in a ditch somewhere, or unalived, I guess, in a ditch somewhere, if I don't want to set off the algorithms. But Mom used to always worry that I was going to be found unalived in a ditch somewhere because I was past my curfew and didn't let her know. Of course, it's before the days of cell phones, but regardless, you kind of get the idea. What we want to think about, though, is what are the real odds that something like that occurs and I need a dog to maybe pull me up out of that proverbial ditch and get me out there. So bottom line is, what I want a dog to learn is that we're not worried about those extremes. The only other one I could think of is if I wanted a dog to pull a sled for me, but then even I would give a command like mush or something, right? I wouldn't just let them pull me. And so I want every dog to kind of figure out this simple, mindset that, they can do what they want, just don't get to the end of the leash at any time for any reason. So if they want to sniff the ground, if they want to be ahead, if they want to be behind, if they want to be on my right side, if they want to be on my left side, all these things are fine. The only thing I'm asking is that before the leash gets tight, if I walk away from you, or before the leash gets tight, if you're walking past me, they, that is the dog, should do the thing that we're asking them to do, and that is it's their job, and now my task to make sure that they do their job, of never getting to the end of the leash at any time for any reason. So there you have it. And so we've been working on that with her, and you could just see she's doing quite well following me around. The next thing we want people to realize is that distractions are to dog training as weights are to weightlifting. And so if you think about a person that's super strong, they can lift a lot of weight. If you think about somebody that's just starting working out, maybe they can't lift much at all. And the difference is the amount of time and effort they put into it, and how their muscles have been able to deal with the added weights to make them that strong. And so when it comes to dog training, I think most of every dog comes through our front door for the first time already knows some basics. They know what sit means. They know what come here means, but they just can't do it very well for very long or under any kind of higher level of distraction. So what we tell people is we want to start in easy levels of distraction, and typically that means your own home when you begin practicing, just in your own living room. You don't need a lot of space, just enough space that you can kind of maybe walk that far back. Maybe there's a couch that you sit on and watch a little TV, and after 10 minutes or so, you decide, you know what, I think I want to get a drink out of the refrigerator. Why don't I just get up and go over here and get that drink? And if things are going well, as you can see they are for me and Shelby right now, I could be at the refrigerator and pulling out that soda or whatever, heading back to my couch area, and you can see once again, she's keeping some slack in a leash. I'll sit back down on that couch and start to watch TV for a while again. And so the only homework that I'm going to give you guys that are at home watching with your own dogs, or those that are watching me work Shelby and have her work in front of you, is that you do that for the first maybe 2 or 3 sessions that you practice with her. We're asking you to participate with her, in a focused way, 20 minutes each and every day between training days. And so if there's 2 of you, that means both of you spend 20 minutes a day with her doing these kinds of homework assignments, if you will, and that way you'll get the best that you can out of the program. And so as you can see, again, this concept that she keeps a little slack in the leash is really not hard for her to do well with, especially under low levels of distraction like they are now. And your own living room will be the same way for the most part. There's always potential triggers, like somebody could come in my front door right now, and that would change a lot of the dynamics. Be like putting more weight on the proverbial bar when it comes to weightlifting, just making it a little bit heavier and a little harder for them to work through. But just like a good workout, we're always trying to make it challenging but doable for you and your dog each and every session. And that's how we get a good workout, and that's how later we create a great bond in the human pack that you guys are training out of, and the dog that you have, and with us too, as you start to participate in some group classes that we're going to invite you to join. So after your first private lesson that will come soon after this video, we're going to schedule a time where you come out. We can put the leashes in your hands and coach you through these techniques and watch you practice and help you get better and better as well. So the next thing we teach every dog is a simple command. Shelby, sit. Good. Now, sit is just like every other command. I don't have to use a loud voice. I don't have to use a deep voice. I don't have to repeat it. In fact, it's important that I don't. I just have to say it in such a way that I know that I've been heard, and then she has a choice to make, just like every other dog. They're not robots. They can choose to sit and earn some praise, or they can choose not to sit and earn a correction. And all our job right there, no, sit, is to make sure they do their job. And so you notice I told her to sit, and she did, and then there she got up and I said, no, sit, confirming that she's supposed to keep sitting until I tell her to stop. Some people like to say stay, and you can say it if you want. I participated in some competitions where that wasn't allowed, their thoughts being, no, sit. If you say to them sit, and then you say to them stay, what are they doing differently? And the answer, of course, is nothing. They're still just sitting. And so their thoughts being, let's not add words to it. If you say sit, they should just keep sitting till you, oh, no, sit. Till you give the release word, which in her world is okay. she can stop sitting now, and it's great to see she came for a little bit of praise. That's what we look for, and not at the same time something they have to do. They can say, okay, I'm going to go get a drink of water or something like that. But when we give that release word, they can get from whatever command they're in and do pretty much whatever they want at that point, except get to the end of the leash if we're on a leash, because that rule's always in effect. Again, that being the unspoken command of just keeping slack in the leash at all times, no matter where we are, what's going on around us. Once you've gotten to this point in your homework, and again, I just would look for her start to do like she's doing for me now, just kind of being aware enough of you that when you do get up and move around, you're having this kind of reaction. If she's not doing that, again, if she's lagging behind, right before I reach the end, I would not even break stride, and I would recommend you don't either. Just make this really subtle but very powerful in her mind that we are now taking this leadership role. And it's her job to become a follower. Shelby has a very dominant side to her, even though she's been through kind of a difficult past, it sounds like. She's maintained a nice, I think, stable, dominant, view of the world. And so she's not looking at the world through the vision of a dog that's been abused. She's looking kind of at the world as a world that she has yet to conquer, but she's up and ready for the task. And I love that about her, especially she's had a tough life. How cool is that? That she can, step right back up and say, I'm who I am, and I'm not going to let my past bother me. But at the same time, having that dominant side, it makes her one that she's a lot more likely to test you. And I know I've talked to Shelby's owners in person about this, and they admit that it's quite true, that she does have a very strong, stubborn streak, okay? So let's not get hung up on a dog's past from a human viewpoint and try to overcompensate for that bad past and find ourselves even rewarding some bad behavior. I always just challenge people to say that when you hear yourself say, it's okay, you have to ask yourself the question, is it really? So in that example, when I said it's okay and I pet her, she was sitting there looking at me in a very good position, and even here, it's okay, it's okay. I don't mind conveying that, even though now she's standing. I didn't have her in the sit command anyway. What I'm looking at and what I'm rewarding is her stability right now. She's confident, she's content, she's not trying to pull me around on the leash. We're connected. I feel like there's this, this feeling between us that we're actually connected with each other mentally and visually to some degree, to where we're paying attention. That's all good, so it's okay. But when you hear yourself saying it's okay, and then you look at it and you're trying to console your dog because they're freaking out when the doorbell rang, I got to tell you that from a dog's perspective, it's not okay in the way that you think it's okay. You're saying it's okay because there's somebody at the door, but they're a friend, and therefore you don't have to, worry and bark. But they're not hearing that. They're hearing you say, this is the time to worry and bark. It's okay to do that. Good dog. And they get more reinforcement to do that again in the future. So I would challenge you all, really, anytime you hear yourself, even think yourself of saying it's okay to your dog, to ask yourself one question: is it really? And if so, proceed. It's okay. It's okay. That is okay. I like it. If it's not, then you have to check yourself, because you're miscommunicating to your dog, and you're going to give them the wrong thoughts in the future, and you're not going to have the results you want in your training. So don't worry about their past. Get past their past. I guarantee you Shelby already has. She's good to go. She's not laying around dwelling on whatever happened to her that gets that burn in her side. She's ready to go on and be who she is, and I think that's awesome. Next thing, like I said, we did is sit. Good. They should sit and keep sitting. If I start to move around, it's like adding a little weight to the bar. So as I walk around her, especially behind her, good girl, we're looking for that dog that stays in that sit position and doesn't freak out just because you're behind her and she can't see you. She holds steadily and waits for you to come back again. So no, sit. There you go. That time I just verbally corrected her and got her to sit. I didn't even have to use our tools that we've got ready. Okay, and okay is okay right there, because that's exactly the behavior I want to reward. So you can see she did a great job me walking those circles, and that's just a little bit weight to the bar. Well, maybe she did too well, and it's too easy, and I need to build more weight onto her bar. Let's show you how that looks. All right, so now I've got a couple of treats with me, and all I'm going to do now is show her in a way she understands that sit means sit no matter what happens while you're sitting, even if it looks really good to go get. So right now it's going to be the treats out of my hand. Later it could be a rabbit in your front yard or a dog that's walking down the street. And what we're trying to convey in her mind right now is if I say to her, sit, good, she should maintain that sit, no sit, even if these treats drop. So this is going to be a heavier bar for her to lift. Let's see how she does. No, sit. Good. Good girl. It's okay. That's the time to say that, right? But if that's her release word, try not to say the okay part. Good dog. Just say good dog. Drop it. And now her release word is okay, good dog. And now, of course, she can stop sitting. In fact, I'm even leading her toward those treats. Go ahead and enjoy kind of the fruits of your labor, Shelby. Working is getting you this result. And so as a trainer, I'm trying to do that for every dog. I'm trying to show them what's in it for you, As we get into the workforce and teenagers start to work full time, that's got to be a big question. So, why am I doing this? This is a lot of hard work. What's in it for me? Well, it's hopefully a good paycheck and some benefits and some security sort of thing to where it makes sense to you. And for a dog, it's kind of the same deal. I've got to show them some relevance while you're working for me. But as opposed to a puppy level training where I might just say sit, and then as soon as they sit, go ahead and give that reward. Nothing wrong with that. The only problem that I have with it is that's a puppy level way of doing things. Adult style way, when a dog's over 5 months old, I want to do it more like this. So here again, sit, same as before, but now, good. She has to keep sitting, even as those things drop in front of her. Good. And okay, well done. And that's showing her relevance, and it's helping her practice her patience and building her mental capacities. It's kind of like, when you start as a kid, you get your allowance pretty quickly as soon as you make your bed or whatever. But as you get older, you might have to wait maybe 2 weeks, sometimes even a month for a paycheck, and you've got to have the mental capacity of working all those hours between before you get to see the reward. And that's kind of the difference between puppy level training with treats versus adult level training with treats. They still get treats. It's just how do they get them that starts to change. So I want you guys to practice some of that and build some distractions through your training. The treat dropping is both a big distraction and a big reward, and that's great. Some other things you can do the same way. And you could tell she's kind of excited to see that, just like she was the treats. Sit. But now, no, sit. Good girl. Good girl. Okay, good dog. I'll let her go chase that one. So you can see it's the same kind of deal. We call this, dog currency. I'm teaching them to hold and wait and be patient. And, when they get the release word, then they can have it. Well, we did it with the treats before, and now we're doing it with the ball. The ball is just another form of currency when it comes to dog training. It's like we like the dollar in America, but if you live in other countries, it wouldn't do you very much good. You got to have their currency. Some dogs are not about the treat. It's not their big thing anyway. And for these people that only use treats, well, they keep saying you got to have a better treat. But at some point, you got to admit there's certain dogs that just don't have a lot of drive or a lot of passion to have a treat. But you pull out a tennis ball, and maybe that same dog is now like, okay, now you've got some currency for me. I'm ready to work for that. Tell me more about that ball. You can do the same thing with squeak toys. You can do the same thing with praise. Some dogs are super emotionally sensitive. If you tell them they're good, they love to hear that. It makes them better. Some dogs are physically motivated, pets, hugs, what have you, just helping them see that, you're physically connected. And it's all down to that, guys. And so your first part of your program is kind of the foundational commands of walking loosely on a leash without being told that you have to stop pulling. And that's what we call the unspoken commands. So we're going to have you practice that 20 minutes a day, each of you, maybe for 2 or 3 days in a row, where you're just walking around your own house on a leash inside your living room, sitting watching TV, getting up, going to the refrigerator, what have you, just kind of doing 20 minutes together with your dog. And their job, without you saying a word, is to keep them slack in that leash everywhere you go. Super important, super huge, super easy. Just do it. You know, you can't say that you did it and not do it and get the results from doing it. You just got to do it. So it's just a simple 3-day pattern of that. You can do 4 or 5 days if you want to. You can do a week. It wouldn't hurt a thing. Probably make it even better. Do as much as you want, but do at least 3 days of that. And then start working that sit command like I just showed you, where you're walking circles around them as they hold. So Shelby has to watch you go all the way around both directions, not just, you know, counterclockwise, but get her holding as you go clockwise as well. Practice that. Dropping treats in front of her, bouncing balls in front of her. The big one I'll ask you to work toward. If you can get to it, that's great. If you don't, that's great. But, you know, just put it on your radar. See if you can't get her to hold a sit at your own front door before you take a walk with her, or your own back door if that's where she goes outside, you know, to potty. But just somewhere where you could have her on leash and tell her to sit, and then open that door. Make her look up at you, and when she does, say okay and let her out there. Once again, this is a subtle but powerful way of just demonstrating in a way that she can appreciate and understand that you're taking that leadership role and becoming her coach that she can later trust and respect enough to actually, you know, be coachable, and you guys can go on to living a very happy and great life. She's a very stable, dominant dog, so even though she's a little stubborn, she's very stable. She doesn't just act out haphazardly. She's very predictable around, you know, even other dogs, although she, again, very dominant. You'll see in the play sessions that we'll put on here for you to watch in the video that she has this capacity to be very kind of borderline a bully, okay? So that's what dominant dogs do, is they almost sometimes are tempted to become bullies. Well, you'll see the coaching that we put in with her. My other dog kind of helps coach some of the dogs that are in the play classes, because she's been around the block a lot of times, and you'll get to see her coaching. And then myself too. So I'll get in there and coach if I have to, and you'll see some of that. But as you get to know her better, you'll see her as I do, and that's a high dominant with an underscore, I think quite supportive, maybe outgoing in her dogality type. So we'll talk more about that as we get to know her better. And right now she's barking for that recess that she's earned so well. So stay tuned for some footage of recess, and happy training. Come on, Sam. Good girl. There we go. So you see me kind of reinforcing some boundaries here. She's just coming up a little bit disrespectfully toward, you know, Sam, and Sam's trying to give her the body language showing that she's not interested in that level of connection, since we're just now meeting. Of course, you always got the commentary from the background. Talk about you later. Back to you too. There we go. So, you know, dogs are gonna, especially two dominant dogs, are gonna stack up pretty quickly, and you see it starting to happen there. But now Sam's starting to assert herself in a way that's gonna help out quite a bit. You let the dogs go so long as it looks like it's not gonna escalate to where somebody's gonna actually get hurt. And even though it can sound kind of like it's getting that way, sometimes I don't think it is, and I'll let it keep going. Like right now, we're just going to continue to let this continue. Continue to let this continue, as seems like to me that they're going to start to work this out together. Yeah. So now I'm seeing, you know, a lot of playful kind of wrestling without a lot of contact. So there's mouths open, there's, you know, I could have got you, but I didn't. No, I could have got you, but I didn't. And so they're not gripping, and they're not connecting. Now she's going for the legs. That's a good wrestling move. And Sam did a nice job of kind of blocking that there. And just like kids will wrestle in the, you know, playground, dogs wrestle when they're playing. It's just how they do it. Good dogs, but as long as they're maintaining healthy boundaries. If one dog is kind of done playing, are we going to pester them until we fight, or are we going to stand down and kind of let things mellow? And I'm going to help her right there. I gave a little vibration on her collar, and again right there, because we're kind of at a cool down period is what Sam is calling. Sam's saying, okay, we're done playing for the moment. Can you also chill out? Very nice. Good. Good dogs. There we go. Very good. And there again, vibration, stopping that contact, because Sam has kind of called a recess timeout. So timeout is just what it sounds like in the dog world, just like in the sports world. You know, timeout, got to tie my shoe. Timeout, I need to, stretch, or whatever the case may be. Dogs will call timeout. And you got to help other dogs learn to recognize that and respect it as a boundary that is okay. Anybody can call timeout at any time, and no means no. Oh, of course, Sam is, capable of making those corrections for herself. But here I'm helping her out. Here we go. Good dogs. Good dogs. Recess time. Time out. Recess time, time out. Yep, have a drink, chill, and we'll do more of this later. So anyway, as I said, you can see the play levels and the dominant sides of both dogs displayed there. And Sam being the older dog, you can see a lot of balance and confidence, and you can see with with Shelby, that youthful, more kind of pushiness, which comes with youth, adolescence, whatever. But at the same time, we want to create some healthy boundaries so that play sessions in the future don't have to be as tense. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Please know that you can contact us anytime between sessions with questions you may have on Shelby, and we can help you through your program together that way. And looking forward to her private lesson that you guys are going to get together with her this coming Friday. And as always, in the meantime, we wish everybody happy training.